the 27th of August 2010, Kenya ushered in a new constitution.
And it is presented to His Excellency.
As Kenya's third president, Mwai Kibaki displayed the new document after appending his signature, it marked a new dawn for Kenya by a successful referendum in the same year. The new constitution came along with new tenets which include Article 171, Section 1, which established the Judicial Service Commission. The commission shall consist of 11 members who include the Chief Justice, who shall be the chairperson of the commission, one Supreme Court judge elected by the judges of the Supreme Court, one Court of Appeal judge elected by the judges of the Court of Appeal, one High Court judge and one magistrate, one a woman and one a man, elected by the members of the Association of Judges and Magistrates, the Attorney General, 2 advocates, one a woman and one a man, each of whom has at least 15 years experience, elected by the members of the statutory body responsible for the professional regulation of advocates, one person nominated by the Public Service Commission, and one woman and one man to represent the public, not being lawyers appointed by the President with the approval of the National Assembly. Article 172 states the role of the Judicial Service Commission, which include recommend to the President persons for appointment as judges, review and make recommendations on the conditions of service of judges and judicial officers other than their remuneration and the staff of the judiciary, appoint, receive complaints against, investigate and remove from office or otherwise discipline registrars, magistrates, other judicial officers and other staff of the judiciary in the manner prescribed by an Act of Parliament, prepare and implement programs for the continuing education and training of judges and judicial officers, and advise the national government on improving the efficiency of the administration of justice. The initial team of the Judicial Service Commission was appointed in December 2010, and since then, the Law Society of Kenya has continued to elect members to the commission. And on Thursday this week, advocates will go to the ballot to pick their male representative to the Judicial Service Commission. The 4 candidates in the race are Professor Tom Ojenda, Gathi Irungu, Macharia Njeru, and Charles Ongoto. The winner will join his colleague Mercy Mwarandeche, the Law Society of Kenya female representative to the Judicial Service Commission. Law Society of Kenya representative to the JSC serve for a term of 5 years and are eligible for another 1 term if Law Society of Kenya members vote them back. The terms of both LSK male and female representatives do not end at the same time. George Maringa, KTN News.
Thank you very much, George Maringa, restating for us the importance of the conversation we are having tonight right here on KTN News. Indeed, the debate tonight is the first one ever of its kind on Kenyan television, the Law Society of Kenya debate for the male representative position to the Judicial Service Commission. Now, before we went on break, we're talking about the question of campaign financing, and we'll finish up with the other 2 participants before we hear from the audience. What questions do they have? My colleague George is on standby to put those questions to our candidates this evening. Professor Ojenda, to you, that conversation on financing in campaigns, does it concern you? Is it an area that needs to be improved and worked on?
Yeah, thank you, Sophia. In 2018, at a special general meeting of the Law Society, one of the regulations that was put into place was a regulation that concerns the mode of financing of Law Society of Kenya elections. Of course, one thing that is apparent is that we have had a modest campaign, and lawyers, as you know, are only free at lunchtime, in the evening after 5, and over the weekend. When you host a meeting or you have a meeting of advocates, it will be often after 5 or at lunchtime. It is unlikely that you'd want to have this meeting under a tree or in a stadium. So definitely the place of choice would be in a place where lawyers can sit and converse. Remember, we are campaigning and voting on issues. I must set out the role of JSC. I must set out the performance that we have had in the last 5 years. And that is why you'd meet in a hotel where they'd be comfortable to ask questions. But I agree with you that whilst it is necessary to have campaign control so that we do not have external forces funding the campaigns, I would say on my part that I have been able to run my campaigns with the meager resources that I have, and I continue to do so. And I would welcome all of you advocates to attend my final submission tomorrow at 5 p.m. at Nairobi Club. Very simple. We'll simply assemble for 1 hour, and you'll see, we'll demonstrate that we are the best that this profession has to offer.
Ongoto.
Oh, thank you so much. That's a very interesting question. And I answered it by saying this. Anybody who has a mindset that you must have meetings in big hotels to influence lawyers to vote for you also has a mindset that you can't win a case without influence. Let me tell you, and let me urge all of you, that spending should be a disqualification if we are serious. Where are you going to get that money? And I have to ask this question. My friends, two friends, you've been having meetings in big hotels. When one is at Hilton, the other one is at 680. At Hilton at 680, the minimum you can spend is $1 million. People drinking, eating food. We know how much a bread is in there. We can do it in disguising it as a forum to put out our manifestos. But we are being deceptive. The motive behind is influence. And if you are going to win an election through unfair means and due influence, then you don't deserve to be at JSC. The same undue influence you think in your mind you are exerting on lawyers and fathers is the same undue influence you exert and you require as a JSC member. And members, let me tell you prophetically, forget about all this. Vote for me. Once they have demonstrated that they cannot just do a simple campaign and they get votes, and they have to fight hook or crook to win, that is a disqualification. And let me tell you today, of all the candidates here, one, if we were to look at integrity and other things, spending without explanation a lot of money is a disqualification. Because you cannot be free as a JSC member.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'll give 1 minute rebuttal to the two candidates that you've mentioned. And perhaps, Njeru, as you respond to what Ongoto has said, you can talk to us about how much you spend in this campaign.
Actually, it's what he has said. He just thrown a statement right there without any evidence. My campaigning has been very modest. And you see the beauty of it is that the people who have been attending are lawyers. We serve them tea, we serve them snacks, very modest. And very rarely have we had, meals, so to speak. And a lot of times when you've had those meetings, it has been very modest. I don't give any gifts. I have not bribed anybody. And I can tell you, Sophia, even the little that we've spent, I'm inspired and happy that a lot of lawyers have come in willingly to me and told me, have 10,000 shillings here, let it help you in logistics. Have 20,000 shillings, have 5,000 shillings, that kind of thing. I am very clear in my mind. I cannot spend excessively on a seat that is precisely to just go and serve members of the legal profession.
How much did you spend?
I'm very clear. Less than $1 million shillings contributed by my fellow colleagues.
All right, same to you.
Thank you, Sophia. I think I've run very modest campaigns, very modest. And I agree with Macharia that at times you get contributions here and there from learned colleagues, and they tell you, they give you 10,000 or more, and they tell you, or they pay a bill directly, and you can't, I don't, because, Sophia, I have been a victim of many things. I've been arrested before, and since 22nd of September 2016, I've had a run with certain interests in the state, and I know that it's been hard. So I have not spent money that I would say is measurable. I don't keep a tab on things because various people would pay for various services. But essentially, it's a modest campaign. These are from small towns.
So you do not have a figure, is what you're saying?
I don't have a figure because it's not structured. Because when you have a meeting, often there are haphazard meetings, and you would have different advocates contribute from the different regions. If I were meeting in Kisumu, a Kisumu advocate has chipped in. If you're meeting in Mombasa, Mombasa advocate has chipped in, and also I've spent a bit of what I have as well, what I can afford. But there are also a number of townhouse meetings that we've had where members pay their bills.
All right, thank you. I am informed there are some bills we must pay with commercials airing here on KTNU, so we must take a quick break and we'll be right back. George Moringa will be putting those questions from our audience members to our guests this evening. Please stay with us.